I am already a little bit scared for more than one reason, but welcome to the Deep End Fantasy Football Podcast, Episode 1. Soon to be, if not already, on Twitter at DeepEndFF1. I am Mike Schopp with Adam Krautwurst. You may have watched us through most of the 2020 football season on the Draft Sharks Invitational podcast. We both did very well in that, right, Adam?
Yes. If top 30 is really well, then I was excellent.
Oh, my mom always said, shoot for the top 30.
That's right.
So
of course.
We are here with a little bit of a different slant going into 2021. It's really been Adam's lifelong dream to have a podcast focused on the player, the high stakes player. How do you actually do it? Not just industry type analysis. I'm going to learn a lot. Hopefully you'll join us and we'll learn a lot too. We'll have some great guests. I'm Mike Schopp from WGR in Buffalo. I've been on afternoons there with my partner, Chris Parker, the Bulldog, for almost 20 years. So I come from, I guess, a more conventional talk radio, sports radio background, relatively new to fantasy, last 5-6 years, gotten to know Adam and the Draft Sharks guys in that time, and excited for what we can put down here, Adam, in 2021.
Yeah, I'm stoked. This has been something I've been wanting to do for a while. Do a podcast, do a show that kind of, is tailored not only to the high stakes player, but it's for the high stakes player and kind of from the players that are the experts in my opinion. So, I work for Draft Sharks as well. I have a 9-to-5, normal 9-to-5, but I also I do some work for DraftSharks.com. I do some work for RiserFall.com. That's more of kind of an analysis. But my heart and my soul is with actually competing and playing. That's kind of where I grew up. Falling in love with fantasy football. It's not crunching numbers. It's playing at the highest level. So this is that's kind of what I do. And we obviously did the podcast together, for the Draft Sharks Invitational. But this is that podcast is still going to happen when that event happens this year. But this is going to be just me and you talking to the high stakes players and talking to the people who the high stakes players trust, so to speak. So that's what I'm excited about.
Well, I am too. I mean, I'm a sort of a not high stakes player. I mean, I play in a lot of leagues and fancy myself as a little bit of an expert. I mean, I don't really have the credentials or the trophies or anything to substantiate that, but I walked into the Draft Sharks Invitational, Pros versus Joes, FFPC, a couple of other industry leagues last year, and did okay. I felt like I wasn't way outclassed in that, but I think I was conservative. And I think some of the advice that will come up this year on this show will be useful. Really, a lot of it is don't be afraid to lose.
Yeah.
A lot of these tournaments are so tilted toward the high end that you have to take chances. And what I learned a little bit in 2020 was, especially with talking to some of the guests who were leaders in the Draft Sharks Invitational, almost every one of them, Adam, said, you can't be afraid to take chances. You, like Pete Overzet, who won it, if you finish second or last, what's the difference? In that particular tournament, that was the case. So I think aggressiveness is probably a hallmark with these players, and I look forward to talking to many of them and seeing if that's true, seeing how true and important that is in their strategy.
Yeah, exactly. And to me, you always hear the word, analyst and expert and all these words, thrown around out there. And to me, that the experts, right, are the guys who win the most money, playing fantasy football. That's what we're doing it for. It's like, who's the best poker player? Is it the guy talking about it, or is it the guy playing it and winning all the money? So that's why I can't emphasize enough how fun this is going to be for myself to talk to all these guys. We already have some guests lined up, some people we're going to talk to, and we can talk about those guys in a minute, guys and girls. And but yeah, that's just it's going to be tailored towards them and to kind of hear how they win, kind of what the secret is in their sauce, how they win. Some of the people that they trust, I want to find out what they're doing that I'm not doing, and kind of share that with the world, and hopefully that'll help everyone become a better player.
Well, drafts are already underway. I mean, not the big money drafts probably, or mostly, but drafts are
Yeah.
underway. There's some information right now. And I know one person we're going to talk to every so often on the show he breaks down film. And as we get up to the rookie draft season, he'll be helping us figure out what to look for and what to lean on or avoid, I think.
Yeah, we're gonna have Jay Moyer on the show a couple times this off season. We're gonna have him on in April. So excited to talk to him. So he has some great film breakdowns on Twitter. Helped me avoid some guys last year that I wasn't necessarily planning on avoiding just from his film breakdown. He can kind of tell guys like me, I'm not a film guy, right? I don't sit and watch the all 22 and break down film. I don't know what a running back's footwork is supposed to look like, but Jay Moyer does. So he kept me away from drafting guys like Miles Sanders last year, now granted, a lot of that had to do with injury, which kind of curtailed his year, but just his analysis of, maybe he's not as good as we think he is, type deal kind of strayed me away from him. So yeah, we're going to have him on a couple times. He's got some great stuff. He's going to come on starting in April to promote his draft guide, because he has a great draft guide that comes out. And yeah, so he's going to be one of our analysts as far as like film study that we're going to have on the show.
Well, that's so valuable. And this is something that'll be new for me this year, because most of us are going to put players into tiers. And you're also going to be in a lot of different competitions. You're going to want to have a certain percentage generally of one player versus another. And if you can either sort of stress, lean on, or avoid players within those tiers, it will make drafting a lot easier. It will still have to play out a certain way, but you'll have an idea on who the team is, what their idea for volume should be based on their depth chart and what they've said. And then you get to the player, and like Sanders had the first parts right, and people loved him for it last year. So did Clyde Edwards-Helaire with the Chiefs. I'll look at the team, look at the opportunity, all of that. But if you can figure out something about the player, good or bad, that can help separate that player within a tier, that should be important in drafts if you're playing for big money and in multiple leagues.
Exactly. And and to kind of go back to the Miles Sanders point, and that's not to say I didn't have any Miles Sanders, because I did, because you still want to get exposure to guys. And when you draft in as many leagues, as I do, 30 to 50 leagues, it's, you're going to have draft spots all over the place, and you don't want to have, when I pick 8th, I don't want to have the same running back at the 8th spot every single time, right? Because if there's an injury, then I'm really screwed. So you're going to have exposure to certain players, and I did have some Miles Sanders, but every time it was a coin flip, I strayed away from him because of analysis that Jay brought to the table, and that's where, kind of following some of the guests that we're going to have on too. We're going to have, we got Greg Crack Rock Cantor, from Twitter, and Andrew Geller and Nelson Souza, the franchise. Those guys are going to come on here, and they're going to tell you, who they trust and why they make the picks that they make. And those are those are people that have won, 6-7 figures playing fantasy football. Danny Mueller's been doing it forever. And then of course, Dr. Abib Egbatoba, aka Skywalker. He's the back-to-back
2 times
football guys champ. Yeah, he's made, I don't know how many figures that is. What is that? 8, 9, 12 figures playing.
You're not including the cents.
That's right. Not including the cents. So, but again, these people are interviewed all the time, right? They interview. They're on Twitter and they're on social media, and they're giving their takes on teams. But what we're going to talk to them about is hey, why do you do what you do? They're going to show their work, and they're going to kind of give you some insight as to why they do what they do, which I think is going to be so big for everybody.
Well, they might get interviewed all the time, but they haven't taken your questions.
That's right.
Often. So that's right. Their biggest test ever as players. I want to see that shark again. I know we started with a shark. I'm excited. I think people might tune in and be like, is this the show where the shark was going to kill me in the beginning, and then you survive the shark in the deep water, and then after that, whatever you find out after that is probably fine because you've lived through that harrowing attack, that shark attack. Well,
absolutely.
I'm excited, Adam. I can't wait to learn from this and do this with you and meet some of these people. I mean, Greg was on with us last year and maybe one or two others, but it'll be a certain, as you're saying, a certain category or group of players that are not as often heard from. If you do searches on some of these fantasy podcasts, you will see a lot of the same names, which is great. I mean, those are people who have been on with us and really, more importantly, made their names and established their brands, if you will, in fantasy. These are guys who maybe are a little bit more stealth, but they are putting their own money in it. And I think they have an interesting and collectively a unique perspective on this to share. So I can't wait.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and we're not just going to talk to them. You know, we're going to be doing our own drafts, right? We'll do some live drafts on here. You know, maybe we'll do a main event on here. I'm sure we'll do some football guys drafts on here and live, so people can kind of we can break those picks down as we're going through, and we're going to also have our own information we're going to give out. We're going to give out, you know, spots where I think you can find the best O-line rankings, spots where I think maybe you can find the best strength of schedule analysis, or the best, like if you want to do a 0 RB draft, where's the best place to go get that information. So it's not just, you know, we're not necessarily going to tell people who to pick, but we're going to tell people, hey, what places can you go to get the best information to kind of make the decision for yourself. So I'm super excited to be able to do that.
Will the Empire Niagara draft be discussed? Or
that's up to the commissioner. That's up to the commissioner for sure.
Okay, that'll be fun to talk about too. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. We look forward to a whole year's worth of shows with a lot of smart people, and like everybody out here in the field, trying to help you win and learn. So I can't wait to get started, and that'll be soon. And just keep tabs on either Draft Sharks or, for us in particular, Deep End FF1 is the Twitter handle. We'll have that running up in short order.
Yep, Deep End FF1. You find us on Twitter, and that's where we'll be posting most of the videos and the interviews, and it's gonna be a good time.
All right, see you soon, everybody. Thanks, Adam, and stay tuned.
See you, Mike.